satisfies? Do you believe in a God that opens eyes? Do you believe in a God that tells you lies? Or do you believe in me? Do you believe in a God that brings you down? Do you believe in a God that wears the ground? Do you believe in a God that makes you bow? Or do you believe in me? Do you believe in a God that satisfies? Do you believe in a God that opens eyes? Do you believe in a God that tells you lies? Or do you believe in me? Do you believe in a God that brings you down? Do you believe in a God that wears the ground? Do you believe in a God that makes you bow? Or do you believe in me?
It's Beyond Common Sense. It's Lanny Sense with Lanny Swervo, KCAA's resident gay, woke, liberal, pot-smoking, race-mixing, tree-hugging, left-handed, science-affirming, Jewish, humanist, atheist, a white evangelical Christian nationalist, worst nightmare. Hey, welcome to Lanny Sense today on March 25th. We're glad you can join us. We've got a great show, and here in the virtual studio with me, of course, is our progressive curmudgeon and Sam Clowder from way down south in Ecuador. And also in the studio from way up north in Portland, Oregon, is documentary filmmaker Gregory Franklin. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us again here on Lanny Sense, where we're going to take an irreverent look at what's been going on in everywhere tonight's show. And hey, if you would like to join in with us, you're welcome to call in. Our number is, we have two numbers here, 909-383-1000, 909-383-1000, or 909-383-9000, 1000 or 9000, 909-383. Call in, join us in the conversation about what we're talking about, and if you have something you want to talk about that we're not talking about, we'll talk about it. So please give us a call. There is something strange going on in my thing here. It's suddenly the white screen, it got a little black screen now, and it's asking for videos, and there's a little finger going all around it like somebody's doing something. I wonder if Eric is doing something. I bet he is.
No, one of your callers,
Eric,
it looks like, is sharing the screen, so I'm not sure which one it is. It's not George or guest user. Someone, if they could help and stop sharing the screen.
Well, I'll X this one out. We'll see what happens. Nothing happens. Well, there we go. Well, are we still on the air?
Yeah, we're still live.
Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on, but as long as we're still on, that's what's really important. I notice there's one little thing that comes up. It says stop shopping. That's not a good thing. Oh, no, that was you, Eric. Anyway, hey, what's going on here? The show, if you're listening on the radio on 106.5 FM or 1150 AM, we're also at kcaradio.com, which I think a lot of our listeners are on. And so they could actually, if you go to kcaradio.com, you not only can hear us, you can see us. Although I don't know exactly why anybody would want to see us, but you could see us actually talking here in our virtual studio.
Very good looking. That's why everyone would want to see.
Yeah. And Eric is still racing around trying to figure out why we've got two screens on here. But as long as you can hear us, that's all important. That's what's really important. We got a lot to talk about. There's been so much going on this week, from Trump arresting and deporting protesters, Tesla cars being vandalized, the stock market in kind of a free fall. Did you know that DeJoy quit the post office, the guy that was put in by Trump to revolutionize the post office? He quit. And now I guess they're finding some interim person to run it. What's interesting about that, of course, is that he really upset everything. But the last quarter, the post office made a profit of $140 million. That is the first time in, I don't know, a decade since the post office ever turned a profit. So, but now
they
Trump
never
wants
deliver anything. They get paid anyway.
Yeah. Trump wants to take over and the post office, so that would be a disaster. Anyway, we'll see what's going to happen. But DeJoy has quit the post office, so we're going to see what happens. I put a very important letter into the post office today. I hope it gets through without DeJoy being there. Okay, and then we have lawyers are afraid of Trump's retaliations for representing his opponents. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. By the way, the White House is pimping out the Easter egg hunt. They're going to have corporate sponsors. And the few things that were happening near me is there's a Chuckwalla monument. It was this big monument, national monument. It was supposed to go into that next to Joshua Tree National Park, which is one of the top 10 national parks that are visited by people every single year. And they're putting right next to it this Chuckwalla National Monument. And as I understand it, Trump wants to get rid of it. So we may not have the Chuckwalla National Monument. Actually, at a show when we were on about a year ago, we actually had a woman who was from the Sierra Club or something like that was talking about how excited they were that the Chuckwalla National Monument was actually going to be. And a month before Biden left office, he actually came out here to the Coachella Valley and to the where the Chuckwalla National Monument was supposed to be, and he dedicated the new Chuckwalla National Monument. Maybe Trump's going to come out here and undedicate it. We'll have to wait and see on that one. And so, all right, so that's it. And of course, we got the big thing going on in Wisconsin with the Supreme Court, where it's going to be one of these. Whoever ever thought the Supreme Court race, for justice on the Supreme Court would involve millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. But that's what's happening in Wisconsin, because the court is whoever gets elected. It's two people. And if one is a Democrat and the other is Republican, and it's going to determine whether the Supreme Court is going to be liberal or conservative. And it has to do with abortion rulings and voter district rulings. It's very, very important what's going to happen. It could change the makeup of the congressional delegation in Congress. Right now, I think 6 people represent the congressional districts of 8 congressional districts in Wisconsin. And if the Supreme Court becomes liberal, it's going to get rewritten, which is going to increase the number of Democrats in the House of Representatives. So they're pouring all kinds of money into it. If you haven't heard anything about it, go to your search engine, DuckDuckGo or whatever, and type in Wisconsin Supreme Court race, and you'll find all about what's going on. And of course, if you're politically active, you have probably been getting emails asking you to donate some money. And of course, I donated my usual $4.20 to the Supreme Court to try to keep it in there. Hey, looks like Gregory is gone. What happened to Gregory?
All kinds of mysterious things happening right now.
This is very.
It pays to not be in the United States, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, I don't.
Maybe Trump's shutting you down, Lanny.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
You and our 2 listeners.
I'm texting Gregory. Where are you? So we'll hope he'll come back in. Okay. So anyway, what I want to talk about, I've got this article I want to talk about. There was in Washington Post, and it was about this lawyer thing, where lawyers, in order to represent a client that's suing the federal government or some other, they have to be able to have access to. They have to have some kind of clearance to get information, and they have to be able to, of course, go to the federal courthouse. And what Trump is doing, he is revoking their ability to go to a federal courthouse. And if they can't go to federal courthouse, not only can't they represent these clients who are suing the government, but if they are involved in any kind of litigation with one of their clients that has to do with federal thing there, they won't be able to do the client. They're going to go out of business. Here, let me tell you what's going on here. This is really interesting. The article talks about President Donald Trump's crackdown on lawyers is having a chilling effect on his opponents' ability to defend themselves or challenge his actions in court, according to people who say they are struggling to find legal representation as a result of his challenges. Biden-era officials said they're having trouble finding lawyers willing to defend them. The volunteers and small nonprofits forming the ground troops of the legal resistance to Trump administration actions say that the well-resourced law firms that once would have backed them are now steering clear. The result is an extraordinary threat to fundamental constitutional rights of due process and legal representation. And it's a far weaker effort, making it a far weaker effort to challenge Trump's action in court than during his first term. Legal scholars say no previous U.S. administration has taken such concerted actions against the legal establishment, with Trump's predecessors in both parties, typically respecting the constitutionality enshrined tenet that everyone deserves effective representation in court and that lawyers cannot be targeted simply for the cases and the clients they take on. Trump has used executive orders to target powerful law firms that have challenged him. The orders have sought to strip them of their businesses by banning their lawyers from government buildings and barring companies who have federal contacts from applying to law firms. I'm trying to shut off my phone here.
What's
Why
that,
can't I?
Lanny?
I'm trying to shut my phone. What can I say? Nothing's working now. I can't even shut off my phone. There we go. All right. Trump on Friday ordered Attorney General Pam Bondi to expand the campaign by sanctioning lawyers who, quote, engage in frivolous, unreasonable, and vexatious litigation, end quote, against his administration. Welcome back, Gregory. Glad to see you back. Legal scholars say there is little precedent in modern U.S. history for Trump's actions, but the president is following a playbook from other countries whose leaders have sought to undermine democratic systems and the rule of law, including Russia, Turkey, and Hungary, other stalwarts of democracy. Leaders in those countries have similarly attacked lawyers with the effect of hollowing out a pillar of justice systems to expand their powers without violating existing laws. They have successfully used the strategy to blast away their political opposition and any effort to counter their actions through courts. This is what Trump said. The law firms have to behave themselves. They behave very badly, very wrongly. Trump's targets say they are feeling the heat. It's scary, said a former official in the administration of Joe Biden, who has been pulled into Trump's era litigation and needed a lawyer as a result. The former official had lined up one pro bono lawyer from a major law firm that, the day after an executive order this month against the heavyweight law firm Perkins Coie, said that he had discovered a conflict of interest and dropped the person as a client. 5 other firms said they had conflicts, the former official said, including one where, quote, the partner called me livid, furious, saying he's not sure how much longer he's going to stay here, the former official said, because the leadership didn't want to take the risk. They wouldn't let him represent the person. The person spoke on the condition of anonymity to avoid further difficulties obtaining a lawyer. The person said, I don't know how many people are going to end up having to pay a significant amount of money out of pocket to defend themselves for faithfully and ethically executing their public service jobs. It's really a wild situation to be in. The sweeping campaign is targeting the livelihoods of the people best qualified to contest the legality of Trump's agenda. Lawyers must now contend with the possibility they would face lawsuits, fines, and other punishments aimed at them and even their other clients should they contest Trump administration efforts in court. Quote from Scott Cummings, a law professor at UCLA School of Law who has studied challenges to the legal establishment, you need the legitimacy of the law on your side at some level. This is the automatic legal idea of claiming a democratic mandate to attack the rule of law by using law to really erode institutional pillars that are supposed to check executive powers, end quote. Trump's actions toward lawyers have been about disabling effective representation of anyone that Trump doesn't like. And that is the beginning of the end of the adversarial system, in which both sides of a legal case have equal access to present their views in front of a judge. It's going to be heavily weighted in favor of Trump. The first White House action against lawyers came late last month when Trump stripped the security clearance of lawyers at a prominent law firm, Covington and Burling, who helped former special counsel Jack Smith investigate the president's role in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. The following week, he took far harsher actions against Perkins Coie, a law firm that had ties to a dossier of opposition research against Trump that circulated during the 2016 campaign. The executive order barred the firm's lawyers from federal buildings and directed the federal government to halt any financial relationships with the firm and its clients. That effectively forced Perkins Coie's clients to pick between their lawyers or any federal government business they might have. The move could cost Perkins 25% of its revenue, the firm said in a court filing contesting the executive order. It said that several clients have already departed the firm. Others have said they are thinking about it, and federal agencies were excluding them from key meetings with its clients. U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell said that, quote, it sends little chills down my spines, and suggested that the executive order might have been unconstitutional. Another major law firm, Williams & Connolly, one of the most skillful and aggressive federal litigators, agreed to take the Perkins Coie case. Howell said she had enormous respect for them taking the case when not every law firm would do so. In a filing last week, the Justice Department sought to remove Howell from the case, accusing her and her court of being, quote, insufficiently impartial. And even after Howell's rulings, Trump's campaign against lawyers broadened when he issued a nearly identical executive order targeting Paul Weiss, a law firm that employed lawyer Mark Pomerantz for 2 decades before he joined the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to help prosecute Trump for hush money payments to a porn star. Rather than fighting, though, Paul Weiss cut a deal with the president, even though it had a long track record of aggressive legal action against Trump's agenda during his first term. Paul Weiss chairman Brad Karp met for 3 hours with Trump at the White House, then agreed to devote $40 million worth of pro bono work, quote, to support the administration's initiatives, end quote. The president rescinded the order, then went ahead and rescinded the order against Paul Weiss. Paul Weiss has faced significant blowback for its decision to back down, including some lawyers who said that its settlement emboldened Trump to proceed on filing with directive for Bondi to pursue far vaster campaigns against all lawyers who might challenge him in federal court. Perkins Coie partner David Roche wrote that, quote, Paul Weiss' deal emboldened them to ratchet up his attack on one of the strongest checks on his power, lawyers and the rule of law, end quote. The chilling effect has been quick. Some nonprofits say that the major law firms that in Trump's first term would have been quick to assist them with pro bono work now say they can't risk the cost if Trump goes after them as a result. Many of those same groups are worried that the administration will soon go after their nonprofit tax status, and they won't be able to find high-powered lawyers to contest it. Although not every lawyer is likely to be cowed by Trump's actions, the major corporate law firms that the president has targeted have a core root in the U.S. legal system. Complex litigation can require vast resources, experienced lawyers versed in the arcane of case law, platoons of paralegals doing research across thousands of pages of evidence, and the stamina to go toe-to-toe with unparalleled legal resources of the federal government. Big law firms, best known for deep-pocketed corporate clients, often lend their assistance free to small nonprofits shepherding public interest cases through the courts. They have also been willing, historically, to take on clients who are facing prosecutions that they charge as politically motivated. Much of the litigation against Trump actions in the first term was driven by the big law firms that he is now targeting. One of the directors of one of the nonprofit organizations said, if somebody's been deported to Guantanamo, it used to be law firms would support us and the work on it. And now it's a slower process of getting these approvals. versus just doing what would be done before, which is, this is wrong and we're going to represent it, unquote. That person, among others, spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of retaliation from the Trump administration. Trump's campaign against the law firms could deprive his opponents of top legal talent, weakening their ability to push back on them. And individuals and groups who are taking risks by working against the administration's agenda may also be deeply vulnerable, forcing them to make difficult choices about when to take a stand against them and when to stay silent. One of the lawyers at one of these nonprofits said, quote, "We're telling small NGOs with 3 people on their border, on the border to stand strong, and they are standing strong, and then these law firms are folding," end quote. Trump on Friday said in a memorandum that lawyers aren't supposed to file lawsuits or engage in court action unless there is, quote, "a basis in law that is not frivolous," suggesting that he and Bondi, not courts, we would be in charge of determining what that is. Quote, "Far too many attorneys and law firms have long ignored these requirements when litigating against the federal government or pursuing baseless partisan attacks," Trump said. Quote, "To address these concerns, I hereby direct the Attorney General to seek sanctions against attorneys and law firms who engage in frivolous, unreasonable, and vexatious litigation against the United States or in matters before executive departments and agencies of the United States," end quote. There he is. He is telling his Department of Justice to go after any lawyer and any company and any firm that has anything whatsoever to do in attacking his policies in the court. Can you imagine this? And he's succeeding. Trump's allies have continued to challenge law firms by name. Skatum, this needs to be stopped now, Elon Musk posted over the weekend, taking aim at a law firm, Skatum. ARPS, in response to right-wing commentator Dinesh D'Souza's complaint that lawyers with the firm had worked pro bono to target him. Skatum's lawyers worked pro bono on behalf of plaintiffs who said D'Souza defamed them in a documentary that falsely accused him of ballot fraud in the 2020 elections. Legal experts said that Trump's actions amounted to a broad-based assault on the profession. Claire Finkelstein, a law professor and the director of the Center for Ethics and the Rule of Law at the University of Pennsylvania, said, "This is the livelihood of these lawyers, and the Trump administration is basically saying we're going to dictate the terms under which you are going to be able to practice your profession," end quote. Amazing, just amazing. And the Republican Party supports it, just supports it. And this is just the beginning. This is not the beginning. He's been doing horrible things since day one in office, and he's going to make things even more and more worse. And now lawyers are afraid to. And look what he did to Columbia University. He threatened. He took $400 million away from Columbia University because he didn't like what they were doing with DEI and that kind of stuff. And Columbia University caved because they can't lose $400 million for their university. It's a research university. They can't lose.
Columbia University paid for their book. They have no guts. Okay, come on, Lanny. Listen, man. Never.
Whether they have no guts or not, they were threatened with $400 million. They were threatened.
Yeah, so
if they caved, that's too bad.
There's no surprise in this, Lanny.
You don't.
Lanny, you call this astonishing. There's no surprises here.
No. It's not. I'm not
Trump
astonished.
has never believed in the rule of law. He declared bankruptcy 4 times. He's left thousands of contractors unpaid, and that's long before he refused Obama that led him to running.
And people don't care. Lanny. They don't care, or maybe they don't know. Lanny. He's elected president. Lanny. He's done all these horrible things. And now he's doing even worse as president.
Lanny, no, he's not, because
he's not doing worse.
He's a convicted felon. He does not believe in the rule of Lanny. You're thinking in the box of the rule of law. All right, you have to think outside that box because it no longer exists. The president does not believe in law, the rule of law. The president, Donald Trump, believes he is the law. What he says is the law, and he's above the law. All right. Now This is the first time in the history of the United States. But if you study other governments, if you study history, you know what kind of a tyrant there is that no longer rules by law. There is no law. The law doesn't matter. It doesn't count. These attorneys need to go pick up trash in the gutter.
And so we have to talk about it and try to energize people. We have to talk.
Trump is not going to obey any rule of court.
There's one thing. What you're saying is correct. The problem is that we have to empower people and energize people to do something about it. And
yes, Lanny, and not within the rule of law. If Trump and the president is going to operate outside the rule of law, the United States citizens need to forget the law,
advocating
break the law, and work outside the rule of law.
All right. So what? All right. So if they work outside the law, what should these people be doing?
Well, to start with, burn more Teslas.
All right. You're advocating for violence then.
I'm not advocating violence.
You said burn Teslas.
Action outside the rule of law.
So I'm asking you, what should they do outside the rule of law besides burn Teslas?
Begin to think outside of the rule of law.
And I'm asking you, what is that?
Because here's the thing. Trump has proven that citizens who act within the bounds of law will not get the protection of law. Therefore, if you're not going to have the protection of law, there's no reason to act within the bounds of law.
I couldn't agree more. So what are they supposed to do outside of the law besides burn Teslas?
Get more active, get more involved in the civil war.
That's right, but get active doing what? I'm active with a political party. We're trying to get voters registered. We're trying to get people all riled up on what's going on. So when Congress in 2026 comes around, we can get the Republicans out of the office. And we can do
give
that.
it up.
Now,
give it up. I don't want to. You know what? I'm getting ads asking me for money to support these candidates who are going to flip because there's on April 1st there's 3 or 4 congressional representatives. You know what my opinion is? I don't care. The Democrats did not uphold the rule of law. They had 4 years to put Trump in, convict him, and put him in prison. The Democrats don't act within the rule of law.
What do you suggest people do?
Violence. It's time for a civil war in the United States.
You are supporting violence.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
You either get violent or get out.
Violence is
certainly. You either get violent or get out, and I got out. That's where I'm at. That's why I'm no longer in the United States, and I don't give a damn about the United States. Pardon my language.
Yes.
Because the United States doesn't care about itself. The United States doesn't care about me. I spent 16 months in jail in Texas for possession of cannabis when I was illegally convicted, illegally imprisoned, and illegally denied an appeal. Me, for possession of cannabis. And Trump has committed felonies that he's never going to see jail for. There is no rule of law in the United States. The only rule is going to be the rule of might.
Rich people have always gotten away with.
The United States of America, you have to get violent.
All right, fair enough. You're advocating violence, and I'm saying I'm not sure that violence is the right way.
I'm not advocating it. I'm supporting it. I'm not advocating.
Wait a minute. What's the difference between supporting and advocating?
The difference is I'm not telling to someone to go get violent. I'm supporting those who have gone out and got
You're
violent.
Supporting people. You're not advocating that people go out and get violent, but I'm going to support people who go out and do it.
Here's what matters to them. All that matters to them is money, so it's their pocketbook, okay? And Europe has done more to fight Trump and fight Musk than United States citizens have. All right, Musk's stock is going down. He's losing hundreds of billions of dollars, until he goes bankrupt. And even then he's not, it really doesn't matter. All that matters is power at this point, because the law does not matter. The Democrats aren't going to enforce the rule of law. The Republicans are not going to comply with the rule of law. And the president thinks he is the law.
Okay, we got a caller. We got Linda. Linda Salas here is on the line, and we're going to bring her into the conversation. Linda, welcome to the show today.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good. So I just did my taxes, and I owe money, and I'm thinking of not paying because the IRS has been dismantled, so they won't probably audit me. And
Excellent.
if everybody didn't do it, then I would be less likely to be arrested for not doing my taxes. And I'm thinking of putting what I owe the IRS into some nonprofit like anti-deportation causes or DEI or something else. And I think we should start a movement of people doing that. But I don't know how to do that without getting myself arrested. You know, I
You mean
guess I would
for
get
not
arrested.
paying taxes? You don't get arrested for not paying taxes.
No, I know.
They
You just
go
get
after
fined.
you.
Yeah, you just get fined.
Yeah.
But I
Now,
think
if you
that-
don't owe a lot in taxes, and
I
you
don't.
know, it's if they ever do come after you, you just pay it in the small fine. But if you owe a lot of money in taxes, that could be a problem.
And,
Okay.
and
Well, I
also,
wanna
Trump's
urge
fired
people
so
not
many of
to
the IRS
pay.
personnel. They have less people to go after you anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So more people should stop paying their taxes. I do not want my money to go into Musk's pocket.
There you go. That's nonviolent, and that's hitting them in the pocketbook. If the United States citizens went on a strike and quit paying taxes, it would bring the federal government to its knees.
The only problem is a lot of
You know,
people
and
like me.
Democrats,
I
the
get a
Democrats
refund
funding
from
the
the
federal
IRS.
government. The people who fund the federal government are U.S. taxpayers. And
Yeah.
if the U.S. taxpayers quit funding them,
The question is how many taxpayers actually pay, or most taxpayers you get a refund because they paid more in salary and all that. I get a refund.
Yeah.
And most people get a refund. So you can't.
a refund is partial.
What?
A refund is partial. They don't refund all your money.
No, but
No,
but
we're not talking about a refund. I'm talking about you claim
most
federal
people's taxes are with
exemption
most people's
every month
taxes.
and pay no taxes at all.
Most
That's-
people's taxes are withheld. Now, one thing you could do, though, that's true, is you can sit there and change your number of deductions to 0.
20.
Or you say 10 deductions or something like
Right.
that. So all your
Right.
taxes are withheld and the government doesn't get any.
No, you just claim
Yeah.
exempt. You just claim exempt.
Yeah, but there's a way of so the government doesn't, and you have to pay all the taxes, and at the end, and then you don't pay them. And you're right, Sam is right that the IRS is what they had 7,000 agents who got cut. I don't know how much of a dent that makes in their overall payroll, but the IRS is going to provide less services. But my hunch is that it's going to mainly provide less services to helping people fill out their tax forms, and they'll still have a lot of people going after people. But maybe not.
I'll give you a tip.
Well,
on
I'm
that.
paying my state.
If you're an employee, the employer wants to withhold employee taxes. So
Yeah,
what you
well,
do is, with your
but
employer,
tell them.
you change your status to independent contractor. You create a little contract that you agree with your employer to apply. Therefore, the employer does not have to do all the paperwork for withholding, and you, as an independent contractor, are responsible directly to the federal government. And
That's
that
what I
cuts the
did.
employer out of the middle
Well,
because it's the employer. who takes taxes.
Not all employers would be willing to do that.
File a return,
Linda,
you
what
get some-
you?
What
What
I
are you trying
did
to say, Linda?
is I'm getting
You
a
can cover your
pension.
back by going as an independent contractor. That's legal.
Linda, go ahead.
I'm getting a pension, and I have an option with the pension to either remove my taxes or not. I am paying, however, my California taxes. I'm willing to pay California to keep California roads and whatever we do. But in the event it ever turns to a right-wing state, then I'm not doing it. It's just I'm not giving it up. And I'm willing to take the money, the money that I would have paid the IRS, and support some kind of cause. And I don't know how to promote this. I think people should do it. I stopped taking taxes out of my pension. So that's why I owe.
Well, that is certainly something. If the federal government doesn't have the money coming in, it can't operate. I wonder if we can really, if enough people that could really make a dent in that are. Yeah, that would be interesting to see. That would be fascinating.
Yeah.
20 million. I wonder how many millions of people would have to stop paying their taxes to make a dent in it. And of course, it would have to do how many. I was going to say how many wealthy people versus how many poor people.
It doesn't take a lot of people initially. What it does is, if there are a few people who decide to do it, and then they take a public stand, they talk to the media and explain that they have done it and why they've done it, and that they're doing it as legally as they possibly can. So if in a movement like this, it has to be publicized in order to gain momentum and encourage other people to join. It really only takes a handful, Lanny, maybe 5 people in a group, and get a publicist to write a press release on it, get it covered in the media, and that starts the ball rolling.
Okay,
Well,
I
ahead,
asked an attorney who's very active in the immigration issue if she could help me, and she doesn't know anything about tax law. So she suggested I see an accountant. But what I'm concerned about is I own property, and I don't want it to be liened. And I want to change, I want to give my property to the person I was going to give it to when I die. And so that would be that. But what my biggest concern is that whatever I do does not hurt my family in any way. And that's my fear. And I need to talk to an attorney about that. But the one I trust didn't, sent me to an accountant. So maybe I need to just explain to her, Megan Beeman,
Well, it would, this is not the first time I have heard anybody say, hey, don't pay your taxes. And I don't know if there's any kind of a movement being put together of people saying, organizing and say, oh, we're not going to pay our taxes. And so a person who doesn't want to do it can get advice on how to do it and what consequences are and all this kind of stuff. There is no organized movement to not pay taxes. But, I think that would be, if some accountant wanted to put that together, that would be really very powerful, very, very powerful. And you're absolutely right. Sam's awfully right. If a lot of people just stop paying their taxes, the IRS does not have the staff to go after them. Yeah, it'll be kind of like the penguins in the Antarctic. They're all lining up along the ice there, and they're jumping into the ocean. No one wants to be the first one to jump because there could be seals out there. And so one finally jumps out, and if that penguin survives, then they all start jumping out.
Okay, Lanny, Lanny, I just Googled U.S. national organizations to strike against taxes. If you Google that, all kinds of organizations come up.
Really?
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, really. Yeah,
so what you put in there?
States. National War Tax Resistance Coordinating Committee.
National War Tax Resistance. There you go.
Tax Resistance Wikipedia. Tax Resistance in the U.S. Wikipedia. Tracing the opposition of taxes in America by the Southern Poverty Law Center. There's plenty of information online, but I want to share one little thing with you, which I would not say if I was still in the United States and still vulnerable to taxes. It's something I've known for 35 years, and I've been very careful to say it because the IRS will come after me if I do. There is no requirement to file a tax return. I'm going to repeat that, and then I'm going to tell you why. There is no requirement to file a tax return. You see, filing a tax return is voluntary. If you do not owe the government any more taxes than you paid, and if you do not want any more money back from the government of the taxes you paid, you do not have to file a tax return. I want to explain that when I said that in divorce court, because my ex-wife had assumed $250,000 worth of taxes because she didn't handle the relationship with the IRS properly, and her attorney asked me why I didn't file tax returns. I told him it's voluntary. Well, my own attorney and the judge were all shocked. We took a lunch break, and when we came back from lunch, the judge sat up there and said, Mr. Clowder's right. So I educated 2 divorce attorneys and a judge that day. You do not have to file a tax return. It is not required by law. It's voluntary.
But if you don't pay your taxes, they can't come after you.
What they can do and what they will do are two different things. Damn it, did I
And what
lose
they
you
can
again?
now, they can't now easily unless they reinstate everybody.
Well, because the IRS went after me back in 2012 because of my association with the Inland Empire Patient Health and Wellness Center, which is a cannabis dispensary. And they claimed that because I signed the checks, that I was totally responsible for all the finances there. And I was very fortunate. I had an attorney who came on pro bono, actually one of the best tax attorneys in Southern California, and he won. He got a case. They essentially what he was saying was they can't go after you just because you signed the checks, and so the case was thrown out. In fact, it was such an absurd case that the court gave my pro bono attorney a $10,000 award for his time, which was, I mean, he would, if I had to pay him, I would have probably paid him $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 for all the work that he put into this case for me. But it's very, very unusual for the tax attorney to award damages to the attorney for representing a client. But I was lucky. And
But
the
Lenny,
thing is,
that was a cannabis-related situation. And
absolutely,
the IRS
absolutely.
used politically to go after the cannabis industry back in 2012. That really had little to do with taxes and more to do with your association with the cannabis industry.
Well, but it was the federal government didn't go after me. They could have gone after me for distribution and this kind of stuff. The only way they did choose to go after me was through the IRS. Just like
Lenny, in
Al Capone.
October of 2011,
Al Capone was dealing in booze. They never could get him. They didn't go for booze to get him on that. They got Al Capone for tax evasion.
Yeah,
and,
for tax
and,
evasion.
and they've always done that. And of course, my case had nothing to do with tax evasion. It had to do with the facts that we were distributing cannabis and weren't paying.
Yes, you're talking about 2012, and in the context, in October of 2011, all 4 U.S. prosecutors in the state of California declared war on the medical cannabis movement.
That's
they
right.
reduced the number of dispensaries from 2,500 to 800 in less than a year. So they were going after you because you were cannabis related, not because it was taxes. They just taxed.
No, they used taxes to go after me. They used taxes to go after me. They weren't going after me because it was, but the part they chose in the government to go after me was taxes. And the question is now, if we don't pay taxes now, if they don't pay taxes, are they going to go after you? And the question is, I think they will go after a few people. But if thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people are refusing to pay their taxes, they're not going to have the human power to go after all these people refusing to pay taxes.
Right.
A few people are going to get it. A few people are
making a
going
lot
to
of
get
money
it.
and you owe the tax, and you may think you owe the government a lot of money, then what you do is you create a trust fund and you put that money into a trust fund and you keep it there until so that you show that you have the proper intent to pay the taxes. And you
Now
keep
that
it in
was
a
my
trust
idea.
until
That
something changes or something happens. And
That's
that'll
my
cover
idea.
legally to
What
keep
do
you
you-
away from any civil or criminal prosecution.
Is that what you did, Linda?
No, that's one of my ideas is to put it into an escrow account or something, have it sitting there saying, yes,
trust-
it would be in a different circumstance.
Yeah, you can get
But
a
you
tax
say
attorney
a
to help
trust.
you with that too.
Yeah.
And maybe you can earn interest on the money while it's in the trust fund rather
Yeah.
than the government saying,
Yeah.
hey, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. But that's really true.
I don't understand why people let the government take taxes from their income anyway. Here's the thing: you can withhold your taxes and put it in on a monthly basis and put it into a trust fund, and then at the end of the year, instead of getting a return, you pay the government the taxes that you actually owe. Meanwhile, you get interest on that. You don't get any interest in the money, in the taxes that the government takes from you on a monthly basis.
Part of the problem here, I think, is that a lot of businesses won't hire you if you don't have you pay your taxes through the payroll taxes. And there's another problem that comes along with that.
No, that's not right.
There's another
Right.
problem. There's another problem that comes
that's
along
not
with
right,
that too.
Lenny.
Wait a minute, Sam. Let me have a minute here. There's another problem that comes along with that as well, because when you pay your taxes, you also pay your Social Security, you also pay your Medicare bill, and the businesses have to match. The businesses have to match it dollar for dollar, and so
that you can't get out of.
that's right.
Listen, as an actor, I have not had taxes taken out of a paycheck for mine for the
Can
past
you pay?
5
Are you saying you could pay your Social Security and Medicare taxes and not pay your
That's
income
separate.
taxes?
That's separate. Yes, that's required. SSI, I pay SSI, and I pay Medicare through. That's required. That's not considered taxes. Okay. You can't get out of
So,
that.
Lanny,
Yes,
I
sir.
want to know who
Ma'am.
your
Yes,
tax
ma'am.
attorney was. Lanny,
Yeah.
would you forward any tax attorney information to me so I can talk to someone?
I don't know of any tax attorney.
I thought you had
No,
one.
Sam said go to Google, go to DuckDuckGo,
Google
and
it.
put in
Poverty.
tax resistance or withhold, refusing to pay tax.
All the
And
information
there's
is
all kinds of
online.
information is going to come up for you to look and read about.
Okay.
What he's saying
I
is that there are groups that are advocating for people to withhold pay, to just not pay taxes, and they will tell you how to do it and who to talk to. At least you would be able to get some good advice from some of these groups if you're really thinking about doing it. In other words, you're not out there on your own trying to figure this out. There are people out there, there are groups out there who've been working on this and can provide you with the information, so then you can make a well-reasoned and thoughtful decision on whether you want to protest what's going on with the federal government now by withholding your taxes. And it's really true. It's really true. If tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people start withholding their taxes and the money isn't going in there, it's going to hurt the government. And they don't have the resources to go after all these people. Yes, they will go after, a few people are going to get picked out. And I don't know how they're going to choose which they pick out. A few people are going to be gone after, but there's no way they can go after 1 million people. They just can't do it. They don't have the staff or resources to do it.
Well,
Google
Lanny,
U.S.
thank
National
you.
Movement to Strike Against Taxes.
Yeah.
There you go. U.S.
Yeah.
National
Or
Movement.
any equivalent to that. You just Google it, and all the information comes up, and the information will lead you to organizations and individuals who can give you specific consulting.
Okay. Thank you. I have to get off because I'm in a group. I'm going into a meeting. I appreciate all this input.
Well, we appreciate you being here. There's only about 5 minutes left of our show today, so you were here most of the time. Thank you for calling in, Linda. And you know what? When you do some research on that, come back on the show again and tell us what you found out. It might be really interesting.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Yeah, we really are running low on time. There's only about 5 minutes left of the show here. So a couple other things I thought I might want to talk about. An interesting thing is coming up. This is more for those of us here in the Inland Empire. I got this article sent to me from the Desert Sun that Palm Springs is going to be hosting a town hall on marijuana's impact on community and children. And I was kind of taken aback by this. It says the city of Palm Springs is hosting a town hall next week on the impacts of cannabis on the community, including young people. The event, which we put on in collaboration with the Boys and Girls Club of Palm Springs, will involve individuals from the medical industry, dispensaries, law enforcement, and city government. The town hall will bring together community leaders and experts who will provide valuable insights, share perspectives, and answer questions related to cannabis use, its impact on youth, and its presence in Palm Springs, the city said in the press release. Attendees will have the opportunity to engage in a meaningful dialogue and gain a deeper understanding of the complex cannabis issues facing. Well, here's what's interesting. Who are the panelists? Well, one is a Dr. Navpreet Singh. He's from Desert Regional Medical Center. It doesn't say what his specialty is or what he does at Desert Regional. Julie Montante, she's the owner of 420 Bank, and she's been around Palm Springs cannabis for a long time. She used to operate when they only had about 6 dispensaries, and they're all medical marijuana dispensaries. She was operating one. Lieutenant Gustavo Arez, he's from the Palm Springs Police Department. It'd be interesting to see what their take is going to be. Margaret King, Executive Director of the Boys and Girls Club of Palm Springs. Jonathan Ingram, City of Palm Springs. It doesn't say what his position is with the City of Palm Springs. and Veronica Goodhart, Director of Special Program Compliance for the City of Palm Springs. So the Special Program Compliance, what they do is they run the cannabis program for Palm Springs. And so it'll be interesting to see what they're going to talk about. I got a sneaky hunch this is going to be a bunch of reefer madness. And the reason I say that, because the announcement about the thing also says, now get this one, only people 18 and older will be allowed to attend. Only 18 and older. So if you're under 18, you can't go. Never mind the fact that if you're 10 years old, you can go into a restaurant and sit at a table where people are drinking alcohol at the table and all around you. But cannabis is so dangerous that a person under 18 can't even be in a room where people are just talking about cannabis. Talk about reefer madness. That's what it's going to be, reefer madness. Anyway, I intend to go. If you are in the Palm Springs area, it's being hosted at the Boys and Girls Club. It's actually being hosted at the Boys and Girls Club, 450 South Sunrise Way. And here's the interesting thing. Why is the Boys and Girls Club so into this? The reason is because in 2021, they received a $1 million grant for cannabis youth education. Now, I can assure you, this $1 million grant to the Boys and Girls Club wasn't going to be educating youth on how to use cannabis. It's going to be, I'm sure, reefer madness altogether. And apparently that this program is coming to an end the end of April or something like that, or April 1st. And they have this money. They got to spend it real quick, what's ever left. And so they're hosting this forum to talk about it. I'm kind of curious as just what the Boys and Girls Club have done with this $1 million for educating cannabis youth. They're going to talk about it, and I'm going to be interested. What did they spend $1 million on for cannabis youth?
Lanny,
yes.
Do I understand that they were given $1 million to educate the youth, and they're going to use that for an event that no one under 18 can attend?
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's an oxymoron. That's an abuse of funds.
It's stupid. It's reefer madness.
They were given the money to educate youth.
Yeah.
That's under 18.
Yeah. Go figure. Listen. You're trying. It's like you're trying to make sense out of the drug prohibitionists. It doesn't make sense. Well, listen, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so I hope to see you at the if you're in the Palm Springs area, come on down to the Boys and Girls Club tomorrow at 5:30, and we'll see that. So hey, listen. So if you have any suggestions for the show, you'd like to get back to me. If you'd like to run ads on our show, let our listeners know about what your business is or what's just going on or whatever. We could certainly use the advertising. Give me a call at 760-799-2055. That's 760-799-2055. Or send me an email to rnlanny@aol.com. That's an easy one, rnlanny@aol.com. Or if you have any ideas or suggestions or comments about the show, we would absolutely love to hear about them from you. Because the show is I get emails about the show all the time. I wish people, but that's 2 in the afternoon. A lot of people are at work and all this kind of stuff. It's not the best time in the day to call in, but we certainly do appreciate it. But if you would like to be on the show or be advertised on the show, especially, do give me a call. And listen, that's running out of town. I hear Eric playing the outgoing music, so I want to thank you. I want to thank Sam. I want to thank Gregory. I want to thank Linda. And I want to thank you for listening to Lanny Sense here on KCA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind, and Lanny Sense, the radio show that leaves no gender behind. Good night.